Welcome to another interview with a speaker for the Build Your Influence Ecosystem Summit. Her name is Tiffany Neuman, and she's a visionary brand strategist who helps driven entrepreneurs make their message a movement. After 15 years in the corporate world, working with brands like Adidas, Stoli Vodka, and Birds Bees, she left to establish a revolutionary branding business that stays one step ahead of the trends. Tiffany now works with clients across the globe to help them 10x their sales and shine even brighter as thought leaders. She is a contributor to Entrepreneur and has been featured in Forbes multiple times as a branding expert. Welcome, Tiffany. I'm so excited to have you here. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you for joining us. And please do share with us your journey in building your own influence ecosystem and kind of how you define that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me again. So for me, coming out of the corporate world, it was really interesting. I think a lot of us who make that transition, you don't know what you don't know about like online business, right? And so I didn't realize how much like having that influencer ecosystem how important it was when I first came out. I was just like, oh, I'll start my own thing. I'll get some new clients. It's going to be so easy, right? And so many people paint pictures and it can be easy if you have the right things in place, but most of us just don't realize what's all involved. And so for me, it was really like I remember that first year, I kind of felt like a kindergartner. I was, a creative director in the corporate world. I had like a pretty high level position and so I was like, oh, this will be easy, right? But then it's like starting all over and learning all new things. And there's so many shiny objects. So honestly, it was an interesting start to be humbled in that way. And then I quickly realized that obviously, I'm biased because I'm a brand strategist, but how important branding was, how important your stories, your messaging, all of that was, but then also actually having that influence ecosystem, being seen as a thought leader, being seen as the expert in your space. And so, luckily, because I know how to make great brands, I immediately was like, okay, if that's what I'm going to do, I'll do it. Right. And I was very used to being behind the scenes and calling the shots for other people, which I still love doing for all my clients. So for me, visibility was the main kind of hurdle to get over. I don't really, still to this day, I don't really love it, but you do what you have to do. And I've learned to enjoy it. And so, yeah, once I learned how to get over those visibility blocks and then build a really powerful brand, it grew like my second year of business. I got to six figures really quickly, and it's just grown since then. So I'm very blessed in that way. And yeah, it was a little rocky start, but once I figured out what I had to do, then it was like smooth sailing.
Amazing. No, it makes sense. It's like a lot of us, I would say it's easier to work for others and make other people brilliant but then building our own personal brand is a whole other ballgame, right?
It is. It is. There's so many layers, and a lot of it is all subconscious too. So,
Hmm. Okay, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit into that, because I love all things subconscious and blocks
mhm.
and uncovering our shadows and things. So, is there anything you would be willing to vulnerably share about what you had to kind of overcome?
Sure. Well, as you probably know, most of our patterns and our subconscious beliefs are patterned between the ages of 1 to 7. And so there's so many things that we may not even remember. And if you believe in things like generationally and past lives, it also can come from that. But there's so much that our subconscious doesn't know that's been programmed in there. And so we need to dig that up and remove it in order to overcome it. So for me personally, like I remember my brother to this day, he's like, how are you standing on stages and speaking? Like, this is not you. And I'm like, well, I had to work through those things.
Right.
So, like, I was the girl who was afraid to ask for ketchup at a restaurant. I was a Girl Scout. I'm a Girl Scout leader now for my daughter. I used to be a Girl Scout, and like, I was petrified to even go knock on the door and ask somebody to buy a box of cookies, right? And so, I'm not sure really where that came from because I was just that way, very shy as a child. I worked through it a lot in corporate. I had to stand up and, speak to the C-suite and speak to clients and vendors and things like that. So I worked through it. But then again, like we said, it's a whole nother ball game when you have to put yourself front and center in your brand. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of deep work to uncover those blocks. So there's people pleasing, there's all types of things. And so that's really when I look at branding. Yeah, you can have the most powerful visuals, you can have the most powerful, you know, messaging, which I help clients do. But underneath that all, if you don't clear those blocks and you're not clear energetically, that flow of abundance that you're looking for just isn't going to happen,
So
unfortunately.
important. So important. And it's a really, unique and at the forefront perspective. And I think more and more people are understanding that, it's not just the mindset. It's also everything that is behind that too, right? You can think positive thoughts, but if you still have
Affirmations, all that stuff. And you're like, why isn't it still
why is
working?
it working? Right, exactly. And you could have, like you said, beautiful messaging, but if you don't intrinsically like also believe in it too, then people are going to feel that at the other end of the
Yes. Yes,
phone
there's going to be
or
a disconnect.
yeah.
Exactly.
So super important. So what would you suggest for anyone who's just either pivoting or starting their brand from scratch or building a personal brand and they haven't ever done that before?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, the world we're living in now, AI is like all the rage, and I love AI. Don't get me wrong. Like I use it daily. It's an amazing tool. But the issue that I see happening right now presently is so many people starting to rely on it and ask like, okay, let's build my ideal client avatar and let's build my brand and let's do all of these things. And the thing with that is AI scrapes the internet. It's going to pull what it sees other people doing. It's going to pull what it can do best.
Mhm.
And it may resonate with you, but you're looking for answers in the wrong place. You're looking outside of yourself. And so when I teach people either my branding programs or one-on-one, it's really you need to get to a soul level to pull out your brand and to create your unique essence. And that's what I say creates a category of one brand, one that's really going to stand out. You're going to feel amazing about it. You're going to be excited about it. You're going to want to show it off because otherwise it's going to fall flat. And even if it sounds smart and it sounds good, it's just not going to, again, going back to the energetics, right? It's not going to actually be you. And that is the main piece of branding that I think people tend to get wrong, especially right now, is they either ask, before it just used to be they asked other people like coaches and things like that. And yes, we need guides. That's what I do is guide people through the process. But when you just rely on basically a robot, a computer, to give you your answers, that's, just not going to create that soul level connection with people.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think part of the problem is people go into building businesses before knowing who they are truly. So it's like you said, sometimes that transition from the old version of yourself that maybe had a corporate job or whatever it was previously, moving into the new one, there's still a lot of phases that go into it and uncovering truly like what's your message. So I,
Yeah, and your
I personally,
identity.
your
Like that's
identity.
such a good
Yeah.
point. The identity is such a huge piece because, it could be corporate, it could be mother, it could be father, it could be, sister, whatever. And like we all wear masks that are also built up over our lifetime. And so it's sometimes it's like, who am I even anymore? Like you have to uncover that because it can get so lost and covered up, like your true essence.
Right, exactly. And so it's helpful to work with people to like yourself to excavate that true
Very.
essence from you because sometimes it's like you're even blinded to it yourself. And yeah, I encourage everybody also to like I go through I think 3-year cycles, like every 3 years, like I kind of want to burn everything down and like, reimagine who I am and have that be reflected in my brand and messaging as well. So Yeah, how has your brand evolved and how have you seen others like kind of evolve theirs into like 2.0 version of themselves, right?
Good question. So what I would say is, so I create what it's called, my distinct process is a legacy brand. And so to your point, so many of us, like we get bored as entrepreneurs, right? So we like to, yeah, burn things down and restart. And we do have to evolve, especially right now. Things are changing so quickly. If you are not pivoting once in a while, you're just going to be left behind, unfortunately. Like things are just evolving so fast. So that can be scary, but also can be exciting. So the whole goal and what I teach people is to create what the legacy brand means is to create a solid brand foundation. So when you have, like, if you think about an iceberg analogy and everything below the surface is the unseen, we typically think of a brand as like fonts, colors, logos, like the visual, right? But there's so much below the surface, like, how clients are moving through your ecosystem. What is the actual operating system of your brand? What are the taglines? What are the titles? Like, there's just so much there. And what people think when you do evolve or pivot, so many people are just like throw the baby out with the bathwater, like, okay, we're starting clean and like start completely over.
Sure.
And that can just cause so much chaos and disconnect in your audience because they're like, wait, what's happening? I thought she was this. So when you have what I call a legacy brand and that foundation in place, you can evolve. And what I like to help people do is see where their vision is and reverse engineer it so they can evolve into that without having to reinvent the wheel all over. So they can take these tiny pivots along the way. So one of my clients, Selena Sue, who's pretty well known, I've worked with her over the past 5 years, and every year or two, we'll revisit the brand and we'll do like a new launch and a new look and feel. But there's always like the foundation that doesn't ever change of the brand, of the message. Like Target's never going to change their red logo and certain things to create long-standing like knowingness
Right.
with your audience kind of need to stay in place. So, long story short, that's really what I suggest is having that foundation that allows you to kind of navigate.
Right. So like having at least the umbrella of like what you want to be known for, and then you can still kind of like shift and play inside of that a little
Exactly. Yes.
bit.
And it'll also save your sanity and your team's sanity too.
That is true. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like the idea of like incremental shifts, like not necessarily shocking everyone, but it's a kind of an obvious transition.
Yeah, but then it also revitalizes things after you get bored of it, or it's kind of like same old, same old. It's like, ooh, breath and fresh air, but it's not like completely different.
Right, right. Makes sense. Well, that leads us to your summit session, which is defining your legacy brand. And you already talked about it a little bit. So obviously, as everything is evolving, we really have to, brand strategy is really, I think, the way we can continue to position ourselves in the market when there are so many messages out there, really carve ourselves out as like our unique voice. Yeah, share with us a little bit also more what you're going to touch on in your session.
Yeah, so we're going to really kind of go back to the basics and start fresh of like what is that foundation specifically? Like where do you start and how do you start to get clear on what a legacy brand is specifically for you? What is that essence? What is the first building block that you can get started on to build that so you can stand the test of time and play the long game because entrepreneurship isn't always for the faint of heart. So having a solid foundation really allows you to navigate no matter what's happening in the world and have success no matter what's happening.
Right. Amazing. Yeah, it's like you said, I think building for the sustainable long term and having that mindset of like, okay, 10, 20 years, intergenerational even, like maybe this is an empire you're building for your children to,
Mhm.
leave on and continue on for you. So, that long-term thinking versus the short term of like, how can I make money today? Is a different kind of positioning and thinking. So I'm really excited for this session. And you also have an amazing gift for us all, the profitable brand equation. So tell us what's in there as well.
Yeah, so a lot of people think of branding as just something that needs to be done, like I said earlier, grabbing the logos and colors and fonts. And really, it's one of the most important investments you can make in your brand. And there is a distinct set of ROI that you can get from that. So you can actually really talk about like how to create a profitable brand and what branding truly is. It's not just that. It's a whole ecosystem, or I call it an operating system, and it really includes the entire entity of your business. And if you do it right, you can have a scale, it'll help your business scale easier. It'll help it be more sustainable. And ultimately, if you want to ever sell your business, your brand is your biggest asset. I think a lot of people don't think about that piece, is that like you're building an asset if you want to. Like you said, if it's generationally passed down or selling it, it can be an exit point for you someday too. So we'll talk about all of that.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of us don't think about those kinds of questions. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And I can't wait to see you at the summit. And everybody, please do register down below. And yeah, I'll take care and see you soon.
Thanks for having me.